What are your thoughts on some common myths around longevity that you're seeing put out right now?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. And it's a really good one because, I think that, first of all, let me just say longevity, longevity is a field, it's a very popular field, but
Hmm.
longevity, living long, is based on a field called geroscience, which is understanding how we age. Unless we know how we age, how are we going to figure out how to go longer, right? So geroscience is a real field of science that tries to look at how the body ages. That's where all the gold nuggets are actually coming from. And by the way, when you hear um, about a lot of those processes like sirtuins and mTOR and all those kind of terms that you hear in the longevity circles, those are coming from the field of geroscience. Gero meaning older, like geriatric. It's a science to help us understand that. Okay, so what are some of the myths? Well, among the many myths that are out there, one of them is that we were just talking about biohacking a second ago.
Hmm.
Let me just say one of the myths is that, hey, if you just biohack yourself, you're going to be good. You're going to live a long time. All right. Biohacking is really, I think, misunderstood. Some people look at biohacking just simply as measuring yourself. What's my heart rate variability? What's my pulse? How much body fat do I have? How much good quality sleep do I have? Those are all really useful things to have, Doug. But what are you going to do about it? All right. So the whole idea of measuring yourself with technology is only half of the game. Other half is actually doing something about it. So I think a lot of people go, well, I ordered a lot of stuff to biohack myself. I should be fine, right? Wrong. You need to know what you're going to do about what you're measuring so you can actually make progress on it. So that's one, I think, important myth is that biohacking is enough. Nope. You got to actually have an action plan based on what you're actually doing. Second is that I think that another one is and this is the big one, that you can't reverse chronic disease. So a lot of people who might be listening to this say, well, I already got arthritis, or I've had breast cancer, or I've had colon cancer. I'm shot. My chances are done. Okay. Not so. For the most part, at the cutting edge of medical research, we're beginning to find out that, we kind of all were drinking a little bit Kool-Aid in medicine where we're like, well, you got a chronic disease. We just got to treat you forever. I think the amazing thing is that we're beginning to discover that some of the things that we thought you couldn't treat, we can actually reverse them. We don't have the simple magic pill, like the Matrix, the red pill or the blue pill. We don't have the single pill that actually will reverse everything overnight. Not yet. But I'll tell you that we're beginning to find that you can reverse cardiovascular disease. Third myth is that you got to live in a blue zone to live a long time, right? So you know that again. My friend and colleague Dan Buettner is one of the people, a journalist who discovered or put the name of the blue zone out there. 5 places around the world where people live long and live well, and Costa Rica and Italy and Sardinia and Greece, Greek islands and Loma Linda, California, and in Okinawa, Japan. These are places where people go, oh my gosh, you're like this old. How many people are this old? And how well are they living? All right. You don't have to move you don't have to immigrate into a blue zone to live well. Some people are like, well, I got to live in a blue zone, right? No, you can bring the blue zones into your own house, into your own existence. Those are three myths. And how do you do that? Well, they sleep well, they've got good social support, they eat good food, they don't eat too much. These are some pretty simple things that you can do to make your own home, your own personalized blue zone. So those are just three. I mean, I got a long list of things that are common myths out there, but to me, that's what's exciting as a researcher looking at longevity. Plenty of stuff to be done in fruit flies and roundworms and lab mice. Totally cool. For me, I'm a very practical guy. You know, I like to know, how does all this science, which might seem like just technical stuff or mumbo jumbo to a lot of people, how do we boil that down in a way that can be translated in really easy to grasp and to adopt ways? That's kind of like what I'm doing in the longevity space.
Speaking of biohacking, myths, preventing disease, what's your hot take on microplastics, and should people be concerned with them?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, listen. Plastic is something that is everywhere in our environment. For better or worse, the better part is that plastics made life really convenient, made things light, made things cheap. Okay. But unfortunately, we, until recently, didn't have a as clear an understanding that the plastics that we put around our food, that we package our food in, that we drink out of, that we eat off the plastic fork, you know, uh, these plastics will actually ultimately shed into our food. Microplastics, these are less than 5 millimeters, and then nanoplastics, which are even smaller. You've heard of nanotechnology. Well, there's nanoplastics is just a smaller bit of plastic. We can't see them for the most part. We eat them, or we breathe them, or somehow they get into our body. There's plastic in shampoo. So if you washed your hair this morning in the shower, you probably used some shampoo or conditioner, all right, and that thing ran down your face. You probably got some in your nose or your mouth, maybe in your ear. It's got plastic in it, little bits of plastic. You wash your hand, all right, and then you're actually rubbing your eyes with your hands. You probably transferred some plastics into your eyes, all right. This is how ubiquitous it is, microplastics. And now, a few years ago, when people were asking me about plastics, I actually said, you know, it stands to reason that it can't be good for us, but we don't have enough evidence yet. Fast forward to today. About a year ago, we started realizing, no, we can find them now, and they're dangerous. They're bad. They cause inflammation. A group of cardiologists and neurologists, actually from Italy, about a year and a half ago, looked at people who had blockages of their carotid arteries. That's the big blood vessels that feed your brain. Okay, and they found that when those are narrow, you can actually pick out the block. You can clear the blockage. And they found, remarkably, about 40% of people with those blockages, they were studded, embedded with plastic. Like, what the heck? Like a plastic plaque? Yeah. And when they followed these people over time, they found that the people who had the plastic stuck in their blood vessels had a fourfold, 4x increased risk of having a fatal heart attack or a stroke downstream. That's an OMG kind of thing, finding, discovery. Okay. Now we're finding microplastics live in your brain. They accumulate in your brain. How much? Well, a recent study looked at brain autopsies and found that the amount of plastic that can accumulate in your brain is about the amount that you'd find in a plastic fork or spoon. Now think about that. Like, go into your cupboard and pull out from your picnic equipment, a plastic spoon. Imagine you took a hammer and bashed that all up and then just mixed it into your brain, dispersed it. That's not good. We're also finding microplastics in blood. You can measure. We never thought about measuring it. Now we can. It's in blood. All right. It's circulating around everywhere. We're also finding microplastics in the testicles. Not good. If you're a guy, you don't want to be having plastic in your balls. But urologists who are doing surgery actually have found, when they were doing surgery on the penis, they actually took tissue out and looked at it under the microscope. Guess what? Plastic in the penis gets into the penis as well. And they took it one step further to take a look in human semen. All right. And they found bits of plastic floating in semen as well. So, can't be good for us, isn't good for us, got to avoid it. Very difficult to dodge all of it. But what are some of the practical things that you can do? Well, number one, throw out all those plastic storage containers that you use to put leftovers in. Get rid of those. Okay. Buy Pyrex or glass. You can have a plastic top or rubber top for it, but store it in glass. Don't store it in plastic. Same thing as baggies. Unfortunately, those plastic bags are so convenient for freezing things. Not good either. Okay. Hidden microplastics. Here's the last place that you would think would be having microplastics: tea bag. A tea bag that you would use to make some healthy green tea. All right. What do? You take a cup, you pour some hot water in it, you steep your tea bag in it. Right. It's really great. Well, the tea bag is made out of paper, right? Yeah. However, to prevent the paper tea bag from tearing in the box or along the way, the tea companies spray it with a fine layer of plastic. So it's a little bit more so stronger. Makes a lot of sense to do that, except when you actually brew tea with a plastic sprayed tea bag. This has been studied now. A typical tea bag will release up to 1 billion micro and nanoplastic particles into a cup of tea. Now you
Wow.
drink that, and it's all in your body, right? So, and we know that it'll go to all the parts that we mentioned earlier. So again, if you want to live long and you want to dodge those chronic health problems, and you want to dodge inflammation, and plastic will cause inflammation. We know that microplastics do cause inflammation. This is, you want to make some practical moves to kind of get away as much as possible from those plastic particles. And I think because the world is sort of waking up to this problem now, I'm optimistic that manufacturers and people who are and innovators are going to come up with ways to find a different solution to having these microplastics shedding. In the meantime, glass, Pyrex, those are like the really convenient ways to actually do it.